Today he is going to elaborate on the topic that is laws on contempt petition and its development. Just I will give the brief description of Mr. Kirti Uppal sir, who is the senior designated advocate at Delhi High Court currently. About sir, sir is the first generation lawyer and he has hold various positions from in that Delhi High Court earlier. He was elected as a secretary at Delhi High Court Bar Association and thereafter sir has also held position of vice president and then president of the Delhi High Court Bar Association in 2016. Sir has completed his MA and then LLB from Delhi University. So sir was also a court commissioner for some time. Sir argued in various matters in Delhi High Court and for High Court. Sir was designated as a senior advocate of Delhi High Court. Advocate Kirti Uppal sir has been providing a legal advice and services since 1986 and is an independent lawyer practicing in first field of the law, including the default or the fraud, property law, corporate law, immigration, general legal and employment. Sir, we welcome you, sir, on this webinar. Just a minute. Sir, we welcome you and we are very much delighted. Our students are also very much delighted. Sir, I will just give a brief introduction of our Dean, sir. Dr. Akhil, sir. Dr. Akhil Syed, sir, is Dean and Director at Parul Institute of Law, Parul University. He has been associated since last 4 years in this university. And sir has a various experience of 25 years in the teaching. And he is also awarded the best director and best dean award in Gujarat, sir. Secondly, sir, he has written 6 books and there are various projects of the research in the name of Dr. Akhil Syed, sir. He is the one of the young and dynamic dean and director at our university, sir. And due to his help, we are conducting lots of webinars from the High Court, from the Supreme Court, and from the various judges also. So I will just like to tell Akhil Syed sir to warm welcome Kirti Uppal sir. Akhil sir.
Thank you, Dr. Rajesh. Thank you very much. Everything is been done by you people only. The dean doesn't have any role in except welcoming the guest and appreciating the team. On my personal behalf, on behalf of Parul Institute of Law and Faculty of Law, I cordially welcome learned advocate Shri Kirti Uppal Sahab. It is great pleasure that you are with us, and I am thankful to Dr. Rajesh also for coordinating such a wonderful webinar, and that too on such a wonderful topic. Because now not only among the legal fraternity, but even among the common people, they are just concerned and they are talking about the contempt petition and contempt of court and what are the things. So that of course the credit goes to those senior lawyers also who are brave enough to speak out and put it on social media. So by which the common man also has reached to such legal terminologies. Sir, our is also a humble effort at the Parul Institute of Law. This was been established in 2016 only as a constituent college of Parul University, which itself was been established in 2015 by Gujarat Private University Act, Second Amendment Act 2015. Since then, the university has grown, and along with that, the Institute of Law also grew. We do offer 5-year programs, that is BLLB, BCom LLB, BBLLB. We do offer 3 years LLB program. We do offer 6 different specialization for LLM student, and that is 1 year PG LLM program as per UGC regulation 2013. All this I could do because I do have a very good expert and talented team like Dr. Rajesh. We do have 4 associate professor, 6 assistant professor, and many of them the adjunct professors from the bar as well as from the retired judiciary bench. So that is how we could also enroll large number of students in MPhil and PhD. And I'm very much happy to share that we do have 26 research scholars pursuing their PhD in the field of law. So with this humble effort, all this academic activity gets fueled when a person like you, a real practitioner, comes to the institute and contribute the professional inputs into that academic, and makes not only the subject interesting but also motivates all the students to join the bar desperately. So that is what I am very much thankful that you are here with us, and definitely we will invite you again once the lockdown has been over, and welcome you at the university, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
So on this, I am not wasting more time. I am handing this session to Senior Designated Advocate Kirti Uppal sir to start your session, sir. And we are very much thankful for this, sir. So handing this session to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Let me express my gratitude to both you gentlemen and also to all the students who are watching. And I have now today only I have come to know I am a very learned person by your introduction and all. Otherwise I'm not all that great. I just happen to be, God has been kind to me, so I have been doing fairly well. And my endeavor is always to all the youngsters, particularly the first generation lawyers, to join this profession, because I never wanted to be in this profession. I always start and cut short a long story short, I was to get married to a lawyer. So therefore I was perforced taken out from the army because of an accident. And eventually I did my post-graduation. Still, I didn't want to be a lawyer. But as I said, I think somewhere God wanted me to get married to a lawyer, so I came into this profession. So it was pure accidental. But having said so, I realized that this is one of the best professions. You have a very independent existence. You want to be honest throughout, you can be honest. You can never work under anybody's pressure. There's only one pressure, which is for a first generation lawyer, how to get a nice woman in your life, how to get a nice car, how to get a nice house. For that, I can only, and I always say, work hard, work hard, work hard. And you get every contempt of court. Contemptuous curiae has been used in English law for 8 centuries. The law conferred the power to enforce discipline within its precedents and punish those who fail to comply with its orders. Now, this is very important. And I'll come to that Lord Denning's quote also on contempt, a very interesting quote. And this law of contempt has developed over centuries. In legal system, it is based in common law with the exception of certain statutory modification in England. And as I said at the very initial stage, in Indian concept, the contempt of law takes its roots to 1726 when King of England issued a charter of 1726 that provided for the establishment of presidency towns. Then Supreme Court at Madras came into existence by the charter. Supreme Court at Bombay came into existence. And the same powers of contempt were given to them. Now, the very first judgment, which I would say in 1954, when it was encountered with a situation. This was Brahma Prakash Sharma and others versus State of UP. In All India Reporter, page 10, it was held that the summary jurisdiction, and mind you, it also has a summary jurisdiction and it has a procedure, exercised by superior courts in punishing contempt of their authority exists for the purpose of preventing interference with the course of justice. Now, it is so wide that you can actually stretch it to whichever way you want, and that's what I'm going to show. And I'll leave it to the young students because I always feel that they have a very fertile mind. Our mind is nowadays is we have various I would say factors involved in our speech also because we have to take care of our reputation, we have to take care of the court's annoyance, or we have to take care of the respect also, because we feel that if lawyers do not show respect to the court, then the institution will see its last day. So it says that the object of contempt proceedings have always been, in 1954, from 1954 till date, is not to afford protection to judges personally. This is the first aspect, the important aspect. From imputation which they may be exposed as individuals. But it is intended to protect to the public whose interest would be very much affected if by the act or conduct of any party or the authority of the court is lowered. And the sense of confidence which people have in administration of justice, it is weakened. This is what Supreme Court has held. Now, what I understand is a court, as we all call it, a justice, where irrespective of caste, creed and religion, when people go to court, they have this confidence that I'll get justice. Now, if that fabric is broken by, I would say, basis, the very foundation of that institution will be shaken. So, therefore, this judgment says it is not to the protection of individuals, but towards the institution. Then it further says, there are indeed innumerable ways by which attempts can be made to hinder or obstruct the due administration of justice in courts. One type of such interference in Ford, where there is an act or publication which amounts to scandalizing the courts. Now, this is again, this way, if you take it, stretch it too far. That's the case of Prashant Bhushan. Again, I said it's a matter sub judice. I can't say who's right, who's wrong, because ultimately it is the court when it will come to have when it will be total final, when it will achieve its true finality, because the review is pending. In that situation, a person who says that I want to do something betterment for the institution, and whatever I say is not with any malice, but with the intention to create confidence, to tell the person, howsoever big you may be, if you have done something wrong, I have the right. Whereas the court has taken suo motu on its own and said, no, you have imputed on the freedom of the judicial function. So therefore, it amounts to contempt. You must have seen, you must have read, a lot of debates have gone. The Attorney General wanted to say something, he was told not to speak. And so there is still a grey area which I'm sure ultimately the review will take care of that situation, because we also have a system where once it is decided, then in that, finality becomes the law. So what will be the final course, which we'll wait and see. But as of today, that's my view, there are a lot of gray areas. And I'll straight away come, because I can keep on reading judgments and all. I straight away come to 8 or 9 Supreme Court judges who have delivered speeches after speeches in their retirement speeches and have expressed their anguish that what is happening in judiciary, because they feel that there is no system which we can check our own fraternity. So therefore they come out with sometimes these emotional, or would I say corrective statements. Then and I'll leave it to all of you, and just apply it yourself. If you say, will that amount to contempt or not? Now let's see. There was another judgment in 1955 followed by Brahma Prakash in Hiralal Dikshit and 2 others. There was a leaflet which was distributed, and it was a very interesting passage about the judiciary. The public has full and firm faith in Supreme Court, but sources there are in the know say the government acts with partiality in the matter of appointment of those honorable judges as ambassadors, governors, high commissioners who give judgments against government, but it has not made any difference in the firmness and justice of honorable judges. This is what the Supreme Court says. The Constitution bench in this particular matter, reiterating what has been stated in Brahma Prakash, had said that it is not necessary that there should be a judicial, in fact, to be an actual interference with the course of administration of justice, but that is enough if the offending publication is likely or if it tends in any way to interfere with the proper administration of law. Such insinuations are implicit in the passage in question are derogatory to the dignity of court and are calculated to undermine the confidence of the people. Now, Nambudiripad's judgment, I'm not going to bother with all these judgments, and I'll straight away come to the 1971 Contempt of Court Act, which I read the statement and object of that act was, when then at that time, Mr. Sanyal, the Additional Solicitor General, under his chairmanship, the committee was said, and the committee made a comprehensive examination of the law and problem relating to contempt of court in the light of position obtained in our country, and took note of the importance given to freedom of speech in the Constitution and of the need for safeguarding the status and dignity of court and interest in the administration of justice. Now, if you read these things very carefully, it's a very thin line. It's like a very thin line between, I would say, bravery and stupidity, freedom of speech and contempt of court. So, to balance between the words, which is a very difficult task, I would say, but the courts and their wisdom, whenever they decide, the people, particularly our fraternity, in some way, I won't say criticize it, but in some way they do say that this judgment is not in consonance with the legal parameters. Now, most of the time that is not considered as contempt of court, because you have a right to criticize a judgment. Then the court says criticizing a judgment and criticizing a judge on the judgment, imputing the motive is contempt. But as I said, the more and more you read, the more and more you get confused. So, be that as it may, then 1971 was what all the committee had referred. It carved out few exceptions, which would not attract the provision of Contempt of Courts Act, which was, for example, fair and accurate report of a judicial proceedings, fair comment on the merit of case, any case which has been heard and finally decided. Suppose you say that this is not within the legal parameters, then Section 5 would not give rise to the proceeding of these cases. In Mishra versus the Registrar of High Court, the Supreme Court made some extremely pertinent observation in the context of contempt of courts and distinguished remarks between a judge in his capacity as a judge and in his capacity as a common individual, and went to say, scandalization of the court is a species of contempt and may take several forms. A common form is the vilification of a judge. When proceedings in contempt are taken for such vilification, the question which the court has to ask is whether vilification is of a judge as a judge or is the vilification of a judge as an individual. If the latter is the judge, it is left to private remedies such as defamation and compensation. And the court has no power to commit for contempt. If the former, the court will proceed to exercise the jurisdiction with scrupulous care and in cases which are clear and beyond reasonable doubt. Secondly, the court will also have to consider the degree of harm caused affecting administration of justice. And if it is slight and beneath notice, court will not punish for contempt. See, it's such a thin rope. It is so difficult. Any person worth his name as a lawyer of this country will still have various views on these judgments also. This salutary practice is adopted by Section 13 of the Contempt of Court Act. The jurisdiction is not to intend to uphold the personal dignity of the judges. That must rest on surer foundation. Judges rely on their conduct itself to be its own vindication. Justice Krishna Iyer, who's considered to be, and he is one of the most important person of this institution. He himself was an institution. He has said, even so if judges have frailties, after all they are human, they need to be corrected by independent criticism. If the judicature has serious shortcomings which demand systematic correction through socially oriented reform initiated through constructive criticism, the contempt power should not be interdicted. Now, if you read this and tomorrow you criticize anybody challenging their authority of law, you may invite contempt, but what it says is one has to be very careful. If the judicature has serious shortcomings which demand systematic correction through socially oriented reform initiated, through constructive criticism, the contempt power should not be interdicted. All this, far from undermining the confidence of publics in courts, enhances it, and the last analysis cannot be repressed by indiscriminate resort to contempt power. Even bodies like Law Commission or Law Institute or researchers may run contempt risk because their professional work sometimes involves unpleasant criticism of judges, judicial process, and the system itself, and thus, however, perilously around the periphery of the law is widely construed. Creative legal journalism and activist statesmanship for judicial reform cannot be jeopardized by an undefined apprehension of contempt action. So, don't go by these heavy words, but this is how, when I feel today that we, more than, because the lawyers, I can talk about myself. we have a shortage of legal scholar today. When we become lawyers, when we have our own struggling phase and all, we tend to make money and money and money. And in the process, we forget. So whenever we get money, our mind starts applying. Someday or the other day, we'll have to have a kind of an institution which I have studied in, like we have in Germany, where people from all walks of field come and they contribute their ideas, thought process. I guess someday or the other day, when a legal institution, I would say, which comprises of lawyers, judges, journalists, will also need a kind of a mechanism where we can actually give back to the institution and to touch those portions of law which requires a deliberate debate without the fear of being punished for contempt. That's my idea, which is I feel it's required. Because otherwise, as I said, the more and more when I'll read 7 judges' comments, and then I'm going to close my briefing on contempt of court, because that will tell us what is the contempt of court. And if that is not contempt of court, then what is the contempt of court? Then it says, Justice Krishna has go to the extent. Then in DC Saxena, the Supreme Court has held, which is a 1996 judgment, that a citizen is entitled to bring to the notice of the public at large infirmities from which any institution, including judiciary, suffers from. It has been further held that right to offer healthy and constructive criticism, which is fair in spirit, must be left unimpaired in the interest of institution itself. It has been held that the critics are instruments of reform, but not those who actuated by malice. Now, this is the most difficult aspect. I can say that I don't have malice, but when sometimes I feel anguished or I feel hurt about certain things, I feel this is not correct, and I speak it out, then I have that risk of facing a contempt proceedings. It has been held that critics are instruments of reforms, but not actuated by malice, but those who are inspired by public weal. It has also been held that constructive public criticism, if it slightly oversteps its limits, thus has fruitful play in preserving democratic health and public institutions. When the debate between Prashant Bhushan and Supreme Court was going on in the court, the legal debate, this is what Prashant Bhushan's stand was. The court had its own understanding of the situation of contempt of court. So therefore, the court, despite having held him guilty of contempt of court, and this is what I understand, had given him a chance, a room for a review. Because it had said that you can file a review and say whatever you have to say. There was a very interesting case, Arundhati Roy. The Supreme Court again reiterated that the fair criticism of the conduct of judge, the institution of the judiciary and its functioning may not amount to contempt of court if it is made in good faith and public interest. For ascertaining the good faith and the public interest, the court will have to see all the surrounding circumstances, including the person responsible for comments, his or her knowledge in the field, regarding which the comments are made and intended purpose sought to be achieved. So friends, these were 3-4 judgments of Supreme Court which is dealt with Contempt of Court Act. But now what I am going to show to the learned crowd and a fertile mind will be something very interesting. This is a compendium of various speeches made by the Supreme Court judges. And I'll deal one by one and I'll leave it to this gathering what will be there in their mind. I always believe in giving them the question, not asking me any question. So the first and the foremost is Justice E.S. Venkatramayya, who was the 19th Chief Justice of India. He told journalist Kuldeep Nayyar on the eve of his retirement, the judiciary in India has deteriorated in its standard because such judges are appointed as are willing to be influenced by lavish parties and whiskey bottles. He reminded the sitting judges of former law minister Justice Shankar, anti-social element, that is FERA violators, bride burners and a whole horde of reactionaries found their heaven in the Supreme Court. Now, a contempt proceedings were initiated in 1990 against Justice Venkatramayya before the Bombay High Court. The complainant, one Vishwanath, claimed that the judge had scandalized the court. Earlier I had said, what is the freedom of speech? What is the restriction placed on freedom of speech if it scandalizes the court? If there is an attack on an individual judge, it's not a contempt, but if it is an attack on the institution, then it is a contempt. So, which was attributed to him in the interview. And he said in the very high court, there were at least 4 to 5 judges who were practically out every evening, wining and dining, either at a lawyer's house or a foreign embassy. And that the estimate of the number of judges were around 90. And that is practically in all the 22 high courts in the country, close the relation on were thriving. Now, Justice Venkatramayya, when made this, and when this matter was done, the contempt, the bench, the Bombay High Court, disagreed and reminded him of a Chinese proverb. As long as you are upright, do not care if your shadow is crooked. The bench reasoned that the former CJI statement referred only to such judges who were indulging in wining and dining at lawyer's house or a foreign embassies, or whose sons and son-in-law and brothers were minting money by abusing their position. Without getting into Advocate General, the petitioner sought suo motu action by the court. Despite this, the court refused. The bench, however, dismissed the petition on the ground of maintainability as well as on merit. Now, this is the first Chief Justice of India statement. If you look at it, on the face of it, it's a contempt. It is a direct attack. But then court in its own wisdom. Then the second one was Justice S.P. Bharucha. In a speech in 2001, the then CJI lamented that 20% of the judges in India were corrupt. He made this speech during the Law Day function on 26 November 2001 on the lawns of Supreme Court. In his speech, he refers to what is said in public before assuming office as CJI. A petition seeking to initiate contempt proceedings against the former CJI for making such speech was dismissed by the Rajasthan High Court. Then Justice Saldhana stated, Justice Chalmeshwar, corruption does exist. Why was Kudsi arrested? A former judge of High Court in this country was arrested. If this institution is discredited, democracy is not safe. All my effort was to preserve the institution, strengthen it by creating a greater degree of credibility. That was my whole effort. Judges will politically the influence to say that judges are not touched by politics, I think, is not an honest statement. And mind you, I'm not taking any party politics. The question is, how dispassionately can judges handle the current political event? Then Justice Venkat Chalaiya, one of the most respectable person. There are 25 judges in the Supreme Court in a country with a population of 1 billion plus, and even them, some of them turn out corrupt. Former CJI Venkat Chalaiya told to Anuradha Raman of Outlook in 2000, the most heinous crime is the CJI encouraging criticism or giving room for doubts that his hands are dirty. Then Justice Krishna here, as already I have said. Then Justice Verma and everybody. So what I am trying to say by giving these examples was, and this was Justice in Prashant Bhushan's case, the AG wanted to say something which the Attorney General, but he was stopped. So friends, I said, on the face of it, whatever has been said by some of these former judges and one of the most respectful person, according to me, within that parameter of contempt of court act, yes, it does give you a chance to initiate, but then they are the people who actually believe in bringing remedy, because some of them have said even prior to their appointment as the Chief Justice of India. So it's not that only after retirement they have said. So this is the whole scenario of a contempt of court act. And I, frankly speaking, after reading all this, I have become more confused now that what is a contempt of court act, because I'm sure I was also a young boy with a lot of fire in me, and there are a lot of young people who are studying law. They also become, they go with this, I would say, objective, and they have to do something. And in doing something, they invite themselves a big trouble. For them, the only, I would say, a guidance is read 10 times before you write anything. Because when I read these 4 or 5 former judges, I thought that it's a contempt. The court didn't think it's a contempt. When it comes to Prashant Bhushan, the court in its wisdom, now, who is right, who is wrong? That is again for the court, because we are not the final arbiter. If the court says today that no, this is wrong, then you have to accept it. Whether it is correct or not, you can have your own, again, a fair criticism or a comment on this. That I feel, or we personally feel, that it should be like this, it should be like this. You should give a chance to prove the person's innocence. There has to be an evidence, there has to be this, that, and the other. So, I guess the more and more we'll be confronted with such kind of a situation, there will be a solution one day, and I always say there will be, inshallah. Thank you very much for a lovely chance, I would say, given to me. And if somebody says, sir, I have become confused, so I won't be really shocked, because I am as confused as you are. After reading all the judgments, and after reading all the books, and after reading all the statement of some of the honorable judges, I have become equally confused. And as they always say, it's only the intelligent people who are confused. Thank you.
Yeah, because they do have the different dimension of thinking.
Correct. Unless you have different divergent views, you can never be intelligent.
So then only person they will get the confusion.
Yeah.
जिसको इधर उधर का पता ही नहीं है वो
जिसको बहुत कुछ पता होता है वो भी कंफ्यूज ही रहता
वही कंफ्यूज होता है.
है. Let me now off the contempt of court.
Yeah.
See, as a lawyer, you know who's the worst litigant? A lawyer and a judge. They are considered to be the most worst litigants because they are the most. They feel what they know is law, and a lawyer is the worst, I would say, witness in the bar, and the most intelligent. And I'm saying from my experience, one of the most intelligent witnesses I have come across is totally illiterate. Because whatever you explain them, they'll speak exactly that.
Exactly.
Try doing this to a lawyer.
Mind.
You try doing this to a lawyer or a judge, he will say, just shut up. I know more than you know.
That is a kind of an acceptance level which individual has.
Correct. So nice of you. So thank you. So
Sir.
there's anything you just let me know.
Nice, sir.
Sir, we have some questions, sir. Sir, pertaining to one student has asked me that to ask this question to you, sir. What is the difference between the civil complaint and criminal complaint? Contempt, sorry.
Civil contempt and criminal contempt, I could have gone into that also. I deliberately, now I'll give, see, the civil contempt, if you see, which is because there's a again what do you call a debate on this. Criminal contempt is basically against the scandalization of the court. That is the criminal contempt. Interference in the administration of justice. That is a criminal contempt. And civil is disobedience of an order, disobedience of an undertaking. In civil, you don't have to take permission or insubordination to the orders passed by the subordinate court. But in criminal, you have to take permission from the Advocate General of a state or Attorney General of a country. That's the basic. And if you really want to know, I have done a good research on this. I can, if you want, I can give it. Otherwise, it says civil contempt refers to willful disobedience of any order or order by the court. Criminal includes any act or publication which scandalizes the court, prejudices any judicial proceedings, or interferes with the administration of justice. And as I said, in a criminal, you have to seek permission to prosecute a man, either from the Advocate General or from the Attorney General. In civil, you don't have to do it. If you have disobeyed the order, if you have breached the undertaking, suppose you have given an undertaking that you will vacate the premises by so and so period. You have not done it, you will be given a chance. Why you have not done it? And court can award compensation, court can send you to civil imprisonment. That's the basic difference. But criminal is a very dangerous, where it says, if you have scandalized by any publication or you have interfered with the administration of justice, then that will be criminal contempt.
Sir, one more question, sir. Sir, in Prashant Bhushan case, the Honorable Supreme Court has taken the suo moto, and the Supreme Court has taken the suo moto action against the Prashant Bhushan, and because he has posted against the photograph of the Chief Justice S.A. Bobde. So the question is that, sir, that if suppose you are doing or you are tweeting something against the judiciary, and you are saying that you are not getting any, you are not also impressed, and you are not saying anything to the court that no, I have not done anything wrong. But if you are doing anything wrong, you should accept, because if you are doing or you are tweeting anything, so the Supreme Court held in this consideration that the tweet undermines the dignity and the authority of the institution.
That's when I read. That's when I read that Justice Krishna Iyer's judgment.
Yeah.
If you, I'll read it again for your consumption.
Yes, sir.
That's the answer to what the question is. Justice Krishna here, in his opinion, in Bharadakanta Mishra's judgment says, even so, if judges have frailty, after all, they are human. They need to be corrected by independent criticism. If the judiciary has serious shortcomings which demand systemic correction through socially oriented reform initiated through constructive criticism, the contempt power should not be interdicted. Now, that's the interpretation of the judgment. Now, here the interpretation is different now. That's what I said. There are two ways of looking at it. If you see from Justice Krishna Iyer's point of view, it is not a contempt. If you see from today, in any case, he has been inducted, so you can't say. So now, when he files a review and he brings all this, and I'm sure he must have brought it to the notice of the judges also earlier, then whatever the final shape it will take, it will be the law of land then.
Sir, one more question.
Yeah.
Sir, as per the Article 19(1) of the Indian Constitution, which provide the right to express the free opinion, so it doesn't mean that you can express anything with to anybody to have uttering words, or that is
Absolutely correct.
totally contrary. Okay.
Therefore, if you see the initially when I said was, it's a very thin rope. It's a very thin rope. There is something known as fundamental right, which is the supreme right. But there is also the restriction which has been brought by the Contempt of Court Act. So that is how the courts interpret, you know. That is how the courts interpret. Sometimes I gave the at least 7 former Chief Justice of India's statement to the various courts, and the court had not accepted that statement as a contempt of court. So now it is. So the ultimate arbiter is the court only.
Yes.
You may say while criticizing a judgment, not criticizing the judge, that this is within that legal parameter, this is not within the legal parameter.
Sir, one more question. Sir, the Justice Misra, Honorable Justice Misra, who has given the judgment of the Prashant Bhushan.
There are
There are
two more judges. No?
There are more judges, but the aspect is, sir, the question is that, sir, what are the important ingredients they have taken that they have imposed only ₹1 fine?
That's the most difficult question to answer.
Because as per the Amrita Roy case, you have explained, and if it is for the public justice, so the circumstances, if the contempt was, and the court should consider the public justice. If it is against the public justice, then the court should consider that point. So what the Honorable Supreme Court has taken the consideration that they have imposed ₹1 fine. That is the question from one student.
That I can only say that please go and ask Justice Mishra. Why he has imposed, why all 3 of them have imposed. Maybe it is symbolic. Maybe they don't want to see somewhere when you are imposing a fine, because I'm not a judge, so I can't say.
Yes, sir.
When you are imposing,
sir, it is a discussion. Yes, sir.
When you are imposing a fine, you also debate within yourself.
Yes, sir.
How much should be the proportionality of punishment? It's like, if I've done something wrong at home, my father will give me 1 slap. But if I've done something very, very wrong, I'll get beating. And if challenges the authority in a very crude manner, I'll be thrown out of the house. So it all depends. Maybe just all these 3 judges, honorable judges, must have felt that this is the best according to them, because they were also insisting you mend your ways.
Sir, one last question, sir. Sir, as per Article 129 and 215 of the Constitution of India, Supreme Court of India and High Court of the state, respectively, are empowered to punish the people for the respective contempt. So, sir, the question is that why the state is also not coming in the picture in these types of the matter, and state should also look after that certain provision should be provided in the legislature so that the people should know that okay, this is the contempt. Because no doubt Prashant Bhushan sir is a senior advocate, but the normal people will not aware that whether they are tweeting it becomes a contempt or not.
This is
So-
what precisely I said, not only the normal people, even for the lawyers.
Yeah, sir.
Let me give you an example. There was a time when Specific Relief Act had said that it was discretionary. Specific relief, specific performance to be granted or not. Today there is an amendment in the act. It says it should be granted. Now it is
Okay.
no more discretionary. If the court finds that this agreement is valid, then it should be granted. So I'm sure one day or the other day the effect of all these debates would be this only, to decide this is the contempt. Nothing here, nothing there. This is the contempt. If the court says no, it has to be done like this. Therefore, I said the more you read, the more interpretation you think about it, the more you get confused. He is absolutely right, whoever has asked this question, because tell him courts over a period are as confused as they are.
Yes, sir.
So that is
Sir, it was really a fantastic session by you, sir, and you have gone through various case laws and elaborated in a very better way, and the student have also enjoyed, sir, and they have put it good questions also to you, sir, and you have explained in a very better way. So, sir, from entire Parul Institute of Law and from the behalf of Akhil Sayyed, sir, and all faculty members, sir, I am very much thankful that on the first attempt you have accepted my acceptance, sir, and it was really a fantastic session. It is a great privilege, sir, and it is and whenever this pandemic will over, sir, we will invite you personally at our Parul Institute of Law, Parul City at Gujarat, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Akhil sir, you want to say something?
Maza aavi gayo.
Maza aavi gayo.
Maza aavi
Akhil sir, you want to say something?
Great. खरेखर मजा आवेगी सर. प्रणाम. बहुत धन्यवाद.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot.